Vous avez mentionné le nom de Rennes, le personnage principal de Planet Fall. Comment on pourrait décrire l'univers de Planet Fall sans trop en dévoiler au public? Parce que c'est un roman qui a du suspense, qui tient sur des éléments du secret.
Yeah, there are so many secrets within this novel that it's very difficult, isn't it, for us to talk about. In terms of the world, the novel focuses on a colony that's been established on a distant planet, and Ren, the protagonist, is the colony's 3D printing engineer. So she runs and maintains all of the 3D printing units, but she's also responsible for building the colony, which uses a lot of that technology. She's also very good at synthetic biology, which is one of the things that I wanted to explore in that world. So it's set in the future, but all of the technology within that world is an extrapolation from what exists now. So there's nothing in there that I would consider bordering on magical in terms of it being so distant from what we have now. Everything is either faster or better versions of what we have now, or a more creative use of what we have now. But a lot of the technology, especially in the buildings that they live in the colony, is technology that's being explored now. It's just not widely talked about. And I went to the Clark Awards 2 or 3 years ago. I can't, I'm terrible at keeping track of when I did what. But there was a talk by a scientist there called Rachel Armstrong, who was incredibly interesting, and she talked about so many ideas that went into the book. She just lit my mind on fire, talking about technology involving protocells, where you can make a special kind of dirt, effectively, that goes inside the walls of the house, so that you can process waste without the need for kind of expensive plumbing and environmentally unfriendly practices. All kinds of really, really interesting ideas. And so, yeah, the world has a foundation of real technology, and for me, that's where science fiction is the most exciting. I mean, obviously, I'm reading space opera at the moment, written by a friend of mine, and I love space opera, and, you know, whizzing around in spaceships and doing crazy things, and it's amazing, and I love it. But where science fiction really genuinely, intensely excites me is the examination of where technology could go and how that intersects with the human experience and how that changes us and what it gives us. That's what I like to see.
Planet Fall parle aussi de Dieu, d'une recherche de Dieu, de déterminisme plus ou moins sous-texte. D'où est venue l'idée justement d'où est venue l'idée de cet univers et de cette recherche divine? Est-ce que c'était naturel comme processus ou est-ce que c'est venu en créant l'univers en contexte?
It actually was a little bit of grit left in my mind from an interview I overheard years ago when I was at my friend's house, and it was on BBC Radio 4, and it was an interview with a physicist. And this physicist was talking about how his study of the universe brings him closer to God. And I literally stopped in the middle of the kitchen and went, "What?" at the radio. And I was so shocked, because in all of the narratives that I've been exposed to, religion and science are dealt with very separately. And it really fascinated me to listen to somebody who was a very, very accomplished scientist talking about the depth of his faith. And that just stuck with me. I think Neil Gaiman, in a talk I went to years ago, talked about where stories come from, these bits of grit stick in your mind, and then over time a pearl forms around them. And that was the bit of grit that explored that whole idea of could I create realistic characters who were both religious and scientists. It was almost like a challenge to myself, and also to see if I could have a protagonist who had faith and was also very, very, very scientific in the way she thought, whether I could have that mind of hers support both. So yeah, it was kind of a curiosity of my own as to how somebody like that could work, because I don't have any faith whatsoever. And
En face de ces scories qui est la recherche de Dieu, il y a justement ce petit Dieu qui est un peu le pendant inverse de la comédie hyper technologique. Comment vous est venue cette idée d'une cité organique, vivante, qui saigne, et comment on la construit en fait? Comment on arrive à la construire? Est-ce que ça a été difficile de l'imaginer? Est-ce que c'est juste scénaristique, un élément de décor, ou c'était un peu plus que ça?
I would tell you the very specific thing that led to that as an idea, but it would spoil the entire book. So when we're not in front of an audience, I will tell you. But there was one particular idea that I discovered in a random documentary many years ago, and that came out in the purpose of that place. As for it being an organic structure, I was already playing around with lots of ideas of using synthetic biology to build structures. And I think it was a combination of thinking about that kind of technology, thinking about the purpose of the city, which I can't say because spoilers, but also there's an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, which is very old now, and I think it's called Tin Man, where there's a living biological spaceship that a very strong telepath forms a relationship with, and I really liked the idea of that. I really liked the idea of having structures that are living, and this is not a new idea in science fiction. There are lots of people who've played with the ideas of growing cities, because it kind of makes sense. Instead of pouring lots of concrete that makes loads and loads of carbon and is very damaging, instead growing structures, if you can find a way to do that, would be very logical. So yeah, it was a confluence of lots of different ideas. As for whether it was difficult, no, it was just there. It was weird. It was almost like when I was writing the novel, I was going to a place that already existed in my mind, and I just had to describe it. And I think it's always also easier when you're talking about a location that is biological, because you already have things that you can draw upon, other metaphors and descriptions which come naturally.